My mic is not what?
It's now on.
It's now on.
So whatever you say for the masses.
Sounds good. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing on like second day of fall Q? How many of you are like, yo? Some of you are like, I don't want to make that noise. Okay, well just give me any noise. Cool. We have got a session on inspiration. All right. So that actually kind of raises the bar kind of high for me. But I hope that the stuff that I've pulled together is going to be cool for you. I am excited about it. If some of you may have been at my Inspiring Your Staff session in the spring in Palm Springs, this one's a little different. Got some other things to add to it. So hopefully you'll find some new nuggets in there as well. So a little bit about this. First of all, hello, I'm Rushton Hurley. And that's my Twitter handle up there, Rushton H. I may be the only Rushton you know. Chances are good. And I am one of those people that kind of thinks, you know, if we get together and we share a few ideas, something really wonderful can happen in terms of how we think of ourselves professionally and what might be possible in the classroom. And that is what we're going to see going forward. Now, I also don't want to limit what's happening in this session to my ideas. So we got a chat. Got a chat going up here, todaysmeet.com/RH. All right, that'd be me. And if what you do is if you've got some really good ideas that come from anything I'm talking about, toss them into the chat because chances are mathematically good that they're better than what I'm putting out. And that way, you know, the people who are in the room might be like, oh, that's fantastic. The guy seemed nice, but this other guy put something in the chat and it was great. You know, so we want those kinds of experiences to be a part of the session as we go as well. Additionally, if you have come to Fall Q, maybe this is like your first Ed Tech conference. Actually, is there anybody in here, it's your first Ed Tech conference? Wow, give those guys a hand, yeah? Get on with the learning, man. Well, right? You know, you have to be able to justify, you know, your school having put the money into sending you here. So that second link, justification. All right? What that is that is tons of wonderful freebies that I have been pulling together for years. It's not just the link. There's a kind of a thought there on how to use it, organized for you. Feel free. If I get boring up here, if I'm like, oh, and you're like, so, you know, feel free to go to that link and you'll find some good stuff. Additionally, the slides that are a part of this session, I'll give you the link at the end so that you can get to the slides. So if you're like, I'd rather not sit down and write, feel free. All right, all up to you. So with those two things there, and I'm about to go away from this slide, if you were like writing something down, get ready, this is it, boom. My history. I was born in Texas. I'm a native Texan with all of the kind of weird, quirky pride that's a part of that. Yeah, all right, go. All right, and at age 5, my family moved to Singapore, slightly different kind of cultural environment. I was there for several years when I was very short, and then my mother moved us back to Arkansas. I spent the rest of my schooling in Arkansas in terms of, you know, kind of primary and secondary, and graduated proudly from Magnolia High School, Magnolia, Arkansas. Went back to my roots in Texas for college, Trinity University in San Antonio. How many of you were at ISTE in San Antonio this summer? Oh, it was fun, wasn't it? And the food was great. All right. How many of you went to Sonic and got the peanut butter and bacon shake? Just me. It was delicious. All right. So, anyway. After I graduated from college, I went to Japan. I was there as an assistant language teacher in junior highs and high schools that I discovered I really liked working with teenagers. They're fascinating people. Went on from there to Australia. Spent a year under a Rotary ambassadorial scholarship at the University of Western Australia in Perth, where I learned a lot about kind of what's possible in terms of language learning and professional stuff. And that's when I decided to become a Japanese language teacher. So I went to graduate school here in California, got my credentials, started teaching, and in 2006 became one of the first Google certified teachers and have been loving being part of that group ever since because they share a lot of cool ideas. Right? It's not being attached to some company's name, whatever. It's being around a bunch of interesting people who share cool ideas. That's what matters. Now, in the spirit of being around interesting people, sharing interesting ideas, if you don't know about the Krause Center for Innovation, you should. I have been, whee, right? Plants. There's a program there called Merit, Making Education Relevant and Interactive Through Technology. All right. I didn't name it, but it's a great program, Diane Main runs it now, a wonderful lady who can just so this bodes well for the session. All right, at any rate, it's a chance to be part of a great group. If you're interested, there's an application process. They'll be opening the applications in the next month or so. So feel free to be thinking along those lines. I am curious why you might be here. Here's the title. How many of you, you're here essentially because you saw the word technology and you're just kind of into technology? That's why you get, nobody, of course. All right, how many of you are here because of the word staff? Like you're in charge in some way of trying to help your staff come along with it. Yeah, there you are. And how many of you, perhaps the same group, saw the word inspiring and said, oh my God, we need that, right? Okay, fair enough, fair enough. That's the focus, for obvious reasons, of kind of what we've got going on. But what I want to do in approaching it is to set a stage with a video that was posted about 10 days ago, all right? If you have seen this video, you know why I'm going to show it, because it's just so ridiculously good, right? But here it is. See what you think.
It was 26 years ago, and I was just about to turn 5. We got to the train station and we boarded the train together. My brother just said, I'll stay here and I'll come back. And I just thought, well, you know, I might as well just go to sleep and he'll just wake me up. And when I woke up the next day, the whole carriage was empty on a runaway train, a ghost train taking me I don't know where. I was adopted out to Australia, to an Australian family. My mum had decorated my room with the map of India, which she put next to my bedside. I woke up every morning seeing that map, and hence it sort of kept the memories alive. People would say, you're trying to find a needle in a haystack, so you never find it. I'd have flashes of the places that I used to go, the flashes of my family faces. There was the image of my mother sitting down with her legs crossed, just watching her cry. Life is just so hard. That was my treasure. And I was looking at Google Maps, realised there's Google Earth as well, a world where you could zoom into. I started to have all these thoughts and what possibilities that this could do for me. I said to myself, well, you know, you've got all the photographic memories and landmarks where you're from and you know what the town looks like. This could be an application that you can use to find your way back. I thought, well, I'll put a dot on Calcutta train station in a radius line that, you know, you should be searching around this area. I sort of came across these train tracks and I started following it and I came to a train station which reflected the same image that was in my memories. Everything matched. I just thought, yep, I know where I'm going. I'm just going to let the map that I have in my head to lead me and take me back to my hometown. I came to the doorstep of the house that I was born and walked around about 15 metres around the corner. There was 3 ladies standing outside adjacent to each other. And the middle one stepped forward and I just thought, this is your mother. She came forward, she hugged me, and you know, we were there for about 5 minutes. She grabbed my hand and she took me to her house and got on the phone and she rang my sister and my brother to say that, you know, your brother has just all of a sudden appeared like a ghost. And then the family was reunited again. Everything's all good. They helped my mother out. She doesn't have to be slaving away. She can live the rest of her life in peace. It was a needle in a haystack, but the needle was there. Everything's there. Everything we have in the world is the tap of a button. But you've got to have the will and the determination to wanting it.
What do you think? Kleenex, it's got to be ready. Something amazing about that video for me. I mean, you know, just something about the story of being reconnected. Because for me, sometimes there's that sense that as teachers, we're the 5-year-old boy at the train station, right? Maybe even more precisely, the passion that we bring to teaching is the 5-year-old boy that's about to get separated, right? You know, that there's so much about what it means to teach. When we come into teaching, not because we're like, check it out, June, July, and August. That's not why we're in, education. I mean, that's not a bad thing, right? But We do it because there's something that we learned and we're like, oh my God, this changed the way I look at the world. This really is something beautiful, something wonderful, something powerful. I want to share it with children because they may see the same things. I want to help them see the same things that I've seen in this, whether it's the puzzles of mathematics or the mysteries of science, you know, the beauty of poetry, right? The wonder of language, the stories of history, the joy of health. It could be anything, right? But in bringing that to our students, we're trying to help them stop and say, I can see something new. But that passion that we walk into, you know, our classrooms with when we first start, you know, you get on a few committees, you have to fill out a few forms, a couple of helicopter parents, and, you know, where to go? You know, that kind of thing, right? Natural enough. But I think it's not so much a needle in a haystack of finding it again. I think we can get back there. And I think getting back there is actually notably less mysterious than we typically will let on. So what is it that keeps us from those moments, right, of back with that passion that we bring to the classroom, that we're trying to use to inspire our students? The two biggies right there, appropriate for the month, right? Fear and stress. Right? I see these as the two biggies because there's all kinds of things we fear, right? When we first got started with technology as kind of a regular part of what happens in a classroom, one of the things that we encountered was this question right here. There are computers coming in. Am I going to be replaced? You know, is there going to be a computer that replaces me as a teacher? It was an interesting question. And I think by and large, we looked at this question, we were like, oh, come on, there's too many things that we do as teachers that you're not going to recreate with a computer. And then this guy came along, Sal Khan, all right, and started the Khan Academy. I did a lot of videos about math, and otherwise completely coherent, intelligent people started saying, well, if we've got all these videos, why would we need math teachers? Well, there's all kinds of reasons, all right? But let's start from here. If you've ever watched one of these videos, you know that it's a perfectly good review, but if you have a misunderstanding of an underlying concept that's treated in the video, you are up poop creek if you're watching this video in order to understand it. Now, that's natural enough because of the medium, because of what it is. So are these things good? Oh yeah, especially if used the right way, but they're not going to replace a teacher. Now, one of the most brilliant and tragic figures of the 20th century was Alan Turing, right? The you know, out of control, intelligent, early computer science guy who perhaps is the person most responsible for the Allies' victory over the Nazis. I mean, you know, if you've never heard of this guy, you got to check him out, right? But one of the things he talked about is what became known as the Turing test. And it's not a test. It's not like some like stupid multiple choice simplistic thing that's supposed to give us accountability and our chance to understand what home values should be. Not that I have opinions on that matter, but, right? Instead, what we're talking about is what is it about thinking that would separate a person from a computer? You know, if we're looking at being replaced by computers, then, you know, could they do this kind of stuff? And there's a lot of interesting questions. Because if you have two entities, one's a human, one's a computer, and you ask them both, what's 2 times 3? And assuming that the human has had some, you know, fairly decent instruction in math, you're going to get the same answer from them both. But if you ask the question, well, what's love? What does it mean to love? What does it mean to be passionate about helping others? What does it mean to help a child connect with his or her possibilities? Now, the Turing test actually has this caveat to it. Do you or don't you get a different response in terms of the validation of the answer, in terms of how you validate the answer that you get? So 2 times 3, that's easily validated, right? But if we come back to something like, well, what is love really? Right? You can ask a person that and get a different question than a computer might give you, but it's not as if every person is going to give you the same answer to that question. Right? How do you validate one person's answers over another's in terms of what love might be? So there's a lot of interesting gray area to the question of what can you program a computer to do? Although one of the great comments about about computers replacing teachers was this by the scientist and writer Arthur C. Clarke. Can I get an amen? You know what I'm talking about here, right? You know, you don't want to mail it in like when you're 27. Oh, I'm so jaded. You're 27, man, right? No, don't do the same thing for the next 30, 40 years. Heavens! What you want to do is you want to explore those things that make you, every single year, stop and go, man, these things are cool. Wow, these kids are bringing good ideas in. And you have to be willing to kind of do something interesting along the way to make that happen, don't you? Now, the big whopping reason that computers are not going to replace us, certainly anytime soon, is this. Because what we do as teachers is about working with children and helping them see possibilities that they've never seen before. Helping them stop and go, you know, I can do this. Say, you know, I can be successful. Perhaps even I can change the world. Our students are those who have those possibilities within them. And if we're going to inspire our teachers with technology, then technology had better be doing something that allows these moments to come to the fore. Now, I think that this is a very cool time to be doing this kind of stuff as well, right? Because if we're going to look at issues related to the barriers that we see, here's a good one, right? One of the problems with technology is that things go wrong. How many of you, in working with technology, have never once had something go wrong? Anybody? Anybody? Just a few, right? I've got good karma. Oh, really? Okay, so perhaps you weren't at the conference yesterday. Anyway. Sorry. Mike, sorry. Now, the issue, though, when things go wrong is not that it went wrong, right? It's just that things sometimes happen that way, and it's how we react to it. That's what's important. Because even there, we have these opportunities to send a message to a kid who may need it in such a way that it would be the most powerful thing that kid learned all year. What are you talking about? Well, imagine you've got this teacher who's like, all right, you know, I don't know much about technology, but in class tomorrow, I'm going to use a computer. It's going to be great, all right? Try all these things at home. You get there in the morning, you try different things out before the lesson. You know, you got it all set. The kids walk into the room, right? Here you are at the front, right? Kids, today we're going to do a little activity. It's going to include technology, you know? And the kids are like, whoa, right? And so, you know, the teacher comes back over to the computer and starts into it, and you know, it's not doing what it should. And suddenly you're getting like the blue screen of death or the spinning beach ball of doom or something like this. And you know, you're beginning to, oh, wait, kids, I don't know. It worked before the lesson, right? Though, what's happening? Well, let's put it bluntly, you're freaking out, right? So what is this opportunity that I'm talking about with technology going wrong? The opportunity has to do with how we take that moment and run with it. Well, what do you mean? Well, first of all, just the mere mention of the word technology can take a perfectly normal teacher, hearing the word, become a total stress case right there, right? It happens. So we're overcoming a lot just to try it out. And then it doesn't work? Ah! But the other possibility for reacting at that moment might have been, nope. Guys, looks like we're doing something else. Okay, so get this out, and blah, blah, blah. The lesson that just happened is going to be for that kid who thinks to him or herself, when things go wrong, adults freak out. You know what I'm talking about, right? And there's certainly a dark side of it as well. You got kids at home, like when something goes wrong at home, they run for cover. Because when the adults at home freak out, bad things happen. And if what happens is that in your moment of what obviously would be a moment of freaking out in terms of the way that kid sees the world, you're like, oh, well, you know, not the worst thing that's going to happen to me this week, probably. Next thing. You may have just exploded that kid's thinking of what it means to be an adult. You can be an adult and not freak out when something goes wrong. And that may be the biggest lesson the kid learns all year. There's something about how we work with what we've got that changes an awful lot about how we think of what's possible. Perhaps you've seen people kind of freak out about time, right? It's just not enough time to get through the curriculum, right? Dude, there's not enough time to get through the curriculum the way you teach. Did I step on any toes there? All good. There's something about how we use time that is quite tragically pathetic. You know, as teachers, there's a lot of things that we do. We march in, you know, to the classroom. We help kids see wonderful possibilities for their world. You know what I mean? What else do? We reinvent wheels. We reinvent the wheel every day. What are you doing tonight? I need to make the presentation for tomorrow. Really? What's it on? You know, fill in the blank, right? Haiku poetry. Oh, you're making a presentation on it? Yes, it needs to be a good PowerPoint, right? Well, all right. You sure you don't want to go eat? I need to make this presentation. Your dog's sitting there with a leash in the mouth, you know, wants to take a walk, but can't do that. No, I have to make the PowerPoint, right? Turns out I just got a call, like, there's free tickets to the concert. You don't want to go? I have to make the PowerPoint, right? 500 teachers around the world made the same PowerPoint in the last 2 weeks, but you have to make your own, right? Does this make sense? Perhaps you've seen this particular site before, that one. Useful page, but a lot of teachers don't know how to use it. Which, you know, natural enough. If you don't know how to use it, you don't know how to use it. That, you know, you're not coming out of the womb with that info. There you go, right there. File type : You're doing a presentation on haiku poetry? Go to Google, put in haiku poetry, file type : PPT. There's some real strengths to Microsoft Office. I'm more of a Google Drive guy myself, but I understand some major strengths over here on the Microsoft Office side. One is that loads of people have used it for 2 decades. Consequently, there's a lot out there where people have created stuff. Might as well use it. Why do they put it online? So that no one can get to it? I think not, right? So, like this morning, I was like, okay, you know what, kind of working with this, and I did this particular search, came up with this. I've kind of trained myself over time to look here, because what I want to know is who put this up? Well, in the first case, www.gifted.silp.k12.la.us. LA.us? Louisiana, or if you're from there, Louisiana, all right? Maybe you're from Nolens. Now, K-12? Schools, probably public school, right? So, we're probably in the ballpark. So I downloaded that bad boy. It is on my desktop, and I put it into, called it up in Keynote, right? There it is. I said, okay, haiku. Haiku is, it keeps going, all right? Perfectly good PowerPoint. Use it. And cite your source. Model that for the kids. If you go searching for a handout, instead of PPT, what would you use? PDF. I'd use PDF myself. I mean, there's a lot of DOC. I mean, a lot of possibilities. But PDF's a good one. There's a lot out there. A lot. Do you have to make your own? Sometimes. Because you might go searching and you can't find a good one. Fair enough. But there's actually kind of 3 possibilities, right? You find a really good one. You find one that's just atrocious, or something in the middle. The middle part is actually kind of not particularly helpful. The really good one is obviously useful. The atrocious one, great tool. Why? Because you download that after you've introduced the topic to the kids and you've had a chance to work with it a bit. You show that PowerPoint to the group. You say, get in groups. I want you to tell me why this PowerPoint is awful. Oh, no. All right, so anyway. Oh, my. Awesome. Now, anyway. there are clearly many different ways to measure the value of what's out there. Fair enough, all right? But save yourself the time. So, have you gotten away from the inspiration part? Look, the barrier is fear and stress. The big problem with stress is time. Save yourself some time. Some of you guys, in showing what I just showed, are like, oh my God, this is going to save me so much time. Yes, it will. Happy to help, right? You'll be sending me a note like, late December. Merry Christmas to you. This has been so helpful. And I'll write back, I'm glad you're here. Stop it. This kind of thing, right? So, one way to handle it. But let's just kind of talk about where we are in terms of what we think about with technology as well. Why do you show that? Because I've got this buddy named DK. You're like, what? 2 letters? Yes. Matter of fact, you can find his blog at justadk.com. There you go, all right? And DK is really interesting. He's a really interesting guy. He's from Wales, lives in New Zealand. Already that sounds pretty cool. But more to the point, he's got a theory. He calls the theory the button theory, hence the slide. Now, how does the button theory work? Kids will press a button to see what it does. Adults will ask what the button does before pressing it. There's a difference there, isn't there? But it's an interesting difference. It's an interesting difference because it's not as if one is clearly the better idea here, right? There's kind of a different thing going on. Kids learn technology quickly, don't they? Why? Because they have no fear. What does this do? What does this do? Let's try this. Maybe this will work. You're sitting in the back going, oh, and they're learning quickly. You might go up to them. What'd you just do? That's fantastic. I don't know. Perfectly normal thing to have happen. What do we do, though? We ask good questions. Actually, there's 2 things we do. The good thing is we ask good questions, right? So, tell me about this. What could it be? Right? That kind of thing. The other thing we do is wait. I'm going to click now. You're looking around for the person who's training you. Is it going to be all right? Is it going to be okay? I can go ahead. There's another thing to click on there. Oh, my God. Right? Well, just click. Go for it. I don't want to break anything. I don't want to break the internet. Really, really. How kind of you. A lot of people depend on it. All right? Just get into it, right? But we learn from kids. Try it out. They learn from us. Ask good questions. That's important. Because we pretend like kids know all kinds of things about technology. No. They know what they want to do. They know how to get to Facebook and send something to their friends. They know how to play the game. That doesn't mean they know about technology. We're the ones asking the questions that teach them that. Suddenly, we're all learning together. What does it mean to inspire someone, right? I think it comes down to having a much clearer sense of what it means to be there doing what we do. Now, in that world, I want to jump into some stories. So I'm going to show you another video. That's the way I roll. And this particular video is on my little nonprofit. The nonprofit I run is Next Vista for Learning. It's at nextvista.org. It's an online library of videos made by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from. Thank you very much. I'm trying to save the world from ignorance, one creative video at a time. There. All right. Now, no, thank you. All right, so, if we come back to, oh, not that, heavens. All right, so, I don't even know what that is. Oh, it's the App Store. Wow, check it out. All right, don't even want to know. Here we go. Okay, here's the video I want to show you. Right here. Beep. Bam.
Hello, I'm going to show you how to tie a shoe. So first, you bring your shoelaces into the air, and then you put them like an X, and then you put your finger here, and you bring down the string, and then you pull tight. I like to make bunny ears. And then you cross them like this. Put this one, under the loop down here and pull. And if you want to do a double knot, you go like this. And you make an X again, and then you put it through the hole again. So that's how you tie your shoe.
Like that video, give it a hand. Yay. It's sweet, isn't it? That's a cool little video, right? And is the kid a boy or a girl? What do you think? Boy, it sounds like. All right, we'll assume it's a boy. All right? How old is the kid? How old is the kid? How many of you would say younger than 5? How many of you would say 5, 6, older than 6? I have no idea, all right? 5, 6-ish, something, all right? But here's what I do know about that kid. That kid made a video that teaches other kids, right? That kid essentially knows that he has something to give. When you know that you can teach, you have something to give. How do we inspire teachers with technology? We remind them that their students are learning things from them that they can turn around and show to others such that the others would go, oh, and that whole passionate bit we talked about on the front end is making its way through. That's something special. I think that what a lot of people don't know about our schools is what's going on in them. There's all kinds of things that happen in schools you just don't know about. What do you mean? Well, for one, I believe that something cool happens on your campus every single day. You're like, really? Yes, right? How so? Somewhere in some class, somebody does something, kids are like, wow, that's cool. How do you hear about it? You don't. Why not? Because in the staff room, if you talk about something going really well in your class, now you're bragging. Isn't that a productive way to share, like, you know, great ideas about how to inspire the youth, to avoid bragging by talking about the good things? Stupid. All right, what we need is to be able to stop and say, hey, this is what happened in class today. The kids reacted really well. What do you think? Do you think that happens every day? I do. Matter of fact, I think on your campus, every single teacher, at least once a year, does something wildly cool, perhaps by accident. But I think it happens, right? We just have to be talking about those moments and talking about the failures as well. What are those moments that matter? And if we're trying to talk about what's really interesting, right, at our school, maybe what we need to do is zero in on those things that make our school special. What are the things that we do at our school that really allow us to see ourselves as unique? If I asked every teacher on your campus what's special about your school, would they give a consistent response? Probably not. That doesn't make your school a bad school, but it does mean that you may not be in a position as a school to stop and say, this is where we excel. Because if you can identify where it is you excel, you might say, where else can we excel? What else can we add to that list? How do we work together to get to that point? So here's a story about something at a school, right? It's the Easterbrook Discovery School. They have a day each year called Dads and Dudes on Duty. And so I'm going to show you a little video that tells about dads and dudes on duty. So here we go. And start.
I'm Sherry Vasquez, principal here, and this is literally one of my very most favorite days of the year, the day we bring all of our dads and special dudes to school. It's definitely one of the kids' favorite days.
Just to see the activities, what they've learned through the beginning of the year.
I get to hang out with my dad.
I get excited about coming to see my boys. 2 boys here. It's the best day of the year. I love it.
Just spending the time with them, getting to know the teachers, and meeting the other dads.
I love Dads on Duty Day. We get to play games. Look at the engagement. All the kids are having so much fun with different dads. The dads are so funny. They joke around, they play, they even wrestle, which is not okay. But I love Dads on Duty Day.
Probably I get to hang out with my son and help him out.
Interacting with the kids, watching my son interact with his classmates.
I enjoyed everything, meeting other dads, playing with my kid, being inside the classroom. This kind of makes me want to come even more often inside the classroom, and I think it's a great feeling to be, play with all the kids and get to know better the other kids. And I think besides, you can see in their faces, they're super happy. They really enjoy this.
Here we begin. We are the EDS Huskies.
Every day we listen, learn, and laugh.
We are responsible to respectful, and cooperative.
We promise to take care of our school and our world.
We believe in ourselves and never give up.
Believe it!
We are
If you like that one, give it a hand. The guy who made it is right there. John, actually wave if you would. Yeah. Some of you are like, no one told me about the Kleenex. Sorry. Now, what's going on in that video? There's something beautiful happening at that school. That's a wonderful program. It's a wonderful program. There are probably wonderful programs at your school for which there's no video. Why? Why shouldn't there be a video? How do you get these things out to the community? How do you let them know, right? Do you have a special day at the school and the community walks in and you tell them about what's great at the school? Great if they could make it, and while they're there, if they're interested in paying attention. But there are people who can't make it, and people who are having, kind of the kind of day that makes it difficult to pay attention. And if you send out a video, then they will click play at the time when they're ready to watch it, as in they'll be listening. They're really interested in the story at that point. Things can work out. Now, why is that connected to teachers being inspired? Because when teachers are thinking about the things that are great at the school and how the things that they do can become a part of that list of what's great at the school, now we're moving in the direction we want. And I think we're a lot closer than we often believe. So, I think that one of the things that we do, in addition to, say, reinventing the wheel, is we wildly limit ourselves in terms of ideas for what we do in the classroom. Why? Because we don't often enough have those conversations with our peers. I work at Sarah High School a lot. It's in San Mateo, Catholic boys' school, private school. Wonderful people there. One of the best things about that school is that the professionals, the teachers there, turn to each other and share ideas on a regular basis. They're good at that. They're really good at that. Now, every school needs that, but I've worked in schools where that didn't happen very much. And where do you get ideas? In part, you turn to your colleagues and you say, what if we tried it this way? What do you think? Could this work? That's one. Another way we do it is we turn to the kids. Have you ever done something in class and you thought, wow, that bombed? Anybody? Anybody? Just me, right? What do you do after that? Do you think, oh, that was embarrassing. Well, tomorrow's another day. No, stop and say, all right, kids, if we were to do this again, how should we do it such that it would be good for your learning? What do you think? They'll have ideas. Many of the ideas might be awful. And then you may get to that one idea that changes your professional life. I regularly would ask kids, what do you think? And one of the things I would do, sometimes I'd make it totally general. This is kind of a dangerous thing to do in a way. I'd say, all right, guys, look, I'm here. I am trying to teach you, in my case, Japanese language. I'm trying to teach you this language, and I want to be able to do it well. How can I get better at what I do? I'm interested in your thoughts, and it's okay. It's okay if it's something you think I might not want to hear. I'm really interested in your thoughts. And I used to get some pretty good feedback, and then there was this one day, and I remember it like it was yesterday, where I said, I'd love to get your thoughts. Kid in the back of the room, far corner of the back of the room. She puts her head down. She raises her hand, puts her head down. This should have been a warning to me. Something was on the way, right? Right? Like she can't look at me and say this. Mr. Hurley? Yeah, what do you think? You always call on the same people. Oh, busted, right? But it's so much more convenient to ask those who know, right? No, no, no. I said, wow, wow. Okay, I needed to hear that. I will do better. If you tell your kids, I will do better, man, you're on the hook. You better do it. In terms of motivation to make something happen, big motivation there. I did get better. But why? Because I had to stand there and take it. And that was good for me. It was good for me. And it also let the kids know that I'm interested. I'm interested in their ideas, how things might work, how they could get better. We need those moments of using feedback in powerful ways. Because for a lot of kids, when you give them an assignment, and they come in and they hand the assignment to you, however handed in might be represented, what's the question that they've got? Here, am I done? Ugh. Isn't that a nasty question, right? Doesn't that just make you want to go home and like shower, right? Just nasty, nasty question. Partly because you know that kid can do so much better than what, but you know, their question, am I done yet? Is sort of like, can I remove this from my plate? Can I take this off the list of things that oppress me? Man, is that the nature of our assignments? What we want, of course, is for the kid to come in and say, here's what I did. How can I make it better? How can I make this better? Now, I'm not worried about any kid that sees the world that way. That kid's going to be okay. Even as teachers who really have no clue what the future holds for our kids, we're kind of the first generation that has no clue, right, what the future will look like for our students. I'm not worried if the kid's like, how can I make it better? Because once they get comfortable turning to like their peers, right? So I'm going to show it to you and to you and to you and to you, and you each give me an idea, and I've learned to say, thank you very much for your idea, even if I think that's an awful idea. And then I get to that one where it's like, oh yeah, that's what I need to do. Yeah, that would be really good. I can be proud of this. Those are good moments. How can I make it better is a question that I bring into like workshops left, right, and center, because I think it's the question not only that kids need to be asking when they hand us the work that we ask them to do, it's what we need to be asking ourselves. So I taught this today. How can I make it better? I tried doing this in class today. How can I make it better? Kids, this is what we did today. How can we make it better? And I think that if we can get to a level of comfort with that, it's inspiring what happens because of how kids react. And those are the good moments. Now, a little bit of an exercise here. I'd like everybody to raise your right hand. Other right. Just kidding. All right. Now, raise it higher. Hands down. Isn't that interesting? We didn't raise it like high the first time, did we? I said, raise your hand. You didn't go. We're like, now, why is that? We got to hold back, don't we? We're like, where are we going with this? When you ask kids to do work in class, do they go here or right? It's something about how we're wired. But if we're into that, how can I make it better? I think it changes the dynamic in a productive way. Now, I should say that totally stole that idea from Seth Godin, right? He was doing a presentation at the Brooklyn Free School. And you can find that presentation, by the way, if you look for the title of his talk, which is called Stop Stealing Dreams. All right? Interesting guy, interesting talk. So what we need to do then with these stories is channel inspiration. Channel inspiration. Inspiration happens in a lot of different ways. It can't just be one person standing up going, whoa, and people are like, oh, that's not it. It happens so many different ways. For each person, it happens differently. How? Remember like having book talks where everybody would like read the same book and talk about it? That's a cool thing. But now people don't even take as much time to read books as they should. That's not good. However, the talk should still happen. Well, how? Let's watch a video together. Or let's all watch this video sometime over the next 3 days. Video's 10 minutes. How much time does it take, right? Like pull that out of your schedule. So like this one, I hope you've seen this, by the way. I'm going to show you just the first little bit of it because I think it's brilliant. And when Mike announced yesterday that the keynote for Spring Q, is this guy. I was like, yeah! All right, so check this out. Here we may go. Denied. Okay, so at any rate, all right, guys, that's not working. Let's go on. What he says when we get into that video is he says, all right, so imagine, that you pour your heart into something and you're really interested in it and you show it to a friend and you're anticipating that person's reaction and the friend comes back and says, I hate it. And he says, by way of introduction, let me say that that's how I spend every day of my professional life as I walk into a classroom and teach math to a bunch of kids, right? I'm excited about the math, but they're like, they have to do this because they're required by law to be there. And then he goes into talking about what it means to look at what you learn in that realm of, does it perplex us? Does it make us stop and go, huh? And he's very, very good at it. So if you were kind of like, I don't know if I'll also attend the spring to you, good heavens, this guy's talking, gotta get here. All right, so there's that. There's other ways of getting inspired out there as well. How many of you have heard of EduWin? EduWin, all right? Some of you are like, what's that? Well, if you go to whatisyoureduwin.com or eduwin.org, where they're actually running kind of a contest, doing some of these things as well, it's people talking about wonderful moments in education. Wonderful moments where, maybe what happened was you got to school that day, you were totally tired, you hadn't got enough sleep the night before, you're like all crying, didn't get your coffee, and in walks a kid and says, just wanted to tell you that lesson yesterday was like the best day of school ever. That's a good moment, isn't it? Share it. Stick it out on Twitter with the hashtag EduWin. Hey, just had a kid walk in and say that our class yesterday was the best day ever. EduWin. Share those moments because we have these kind of moments where what happens is somebody calls you up, looks like we're going to be having another meeting with that particular parent. You're like, no, right? quickly, go to that site, watch a few of these. Yeah, it's good for other people. Right? Whatever it may take, right? But there's all kinds of opportunities to be inspired. And so if we're trying to figure out, okay, what are those opportunities for us? I want to tell you about this guy. The guy from the left, third, he's the one right here-ish, all right? If you're sitting over there, you're like, what? All right, the guy in the green, that green. Anyway, so his name is Matt. You've seen him before. No, I don't think I have. Yeah, I think you have. When YouTube came out, one of the early videos that went viral was a video by this guy. What's his story? He graduates in like 98, 99, something like that from college with a degree in programming. And he gets a job programming games. He becomes a game design computer programmer guy. And he's like, how much better could my life be? This is awesome. Spends a few years doing that, goes to a conference in Australia, at which point, by that time, he's kind of like, well, maybe this is not all there is to life. And while he's in Australia, he learns that a lot of people in Australia have what are called gap years, right? They have a gap year. What's a gap year? It's when you take a break between, say, high school and college, or college and your work, and you just kind of travel around the world. And he thought, that sounds pretty cool. And he and a friend decided to do it. And so they're in Vietnam, right? And they're standing in front of some famous place, and his friend, who's got, old-style video camera, right? That kind of thing. Some of you are like, that's what we got in our classroom. Sorry. Anyway, so, all right, he's got, the camera, and he says, hey, do that stupid dance you do in front of that thing. And so he goes over to the thing, and he's kind of doing this, right? And so as they travel around the world, he gets footage of Matt dancing in front of like random stuff all over the world. Well, they pull this together, stick it in a video, share it with their friends. YouTube comes around, rather successful enterprise that. And when it goes out, people see that when they're like, hey, that's awesome. And so they share it with other people. So a lot of people have seen this video. Well, he gets a call from a company. We'll pay you to travel around the world and dance. And he's like, how much better could my life be? Wow. So he does this for several years, and then he begins to think, maybe there's more to life than this. And he and his significant other, Melissa, I believe is her name, decide, we're gonna create a video that spins around the best moments of this kind of traveling. And those best moments seem to happen when we're with somebody else. Why am I showing this video? Because there's something about working with others. There's something about taking vision and putting it into action, going somewhere with it, What inspires a teacher? Not just to know, but to do. And to stop and to say, wow, that really worked well. That was awesome. The kids loved it. Whatever it may be. But I want to show you this video. See what you think. Because, you know, this is one of those videos that just kind of makes me happy. If I'm having a bad day, I might just play this video. Here we go.
For a day
take a minute and with the person sitting like close to you, talk, if you liked that video, talk about what you liked about the video. Go. I would love to hear some of your ideas on this. So if you're willing, just kind of raise your hand as high as you wish, right? And toss them out. Can I get an idea from somebody right here? Yeah.
I really like seeing how that universality of joy in that expression of dance.
Like the universal kind of expression of joy as they dance and things like that. Yeah. It so highlights what we have in common. Very nice. What else?
My staff is so stressed with everything that's being pushed at them.
You must do this. You must do that.
Yeah. And I just want them to stop and breathe. And I think this will really help them to do that.
Simple moments of shared joy, right, can re-energize. I agree completely. Wow, cool. What else? Okay, in the very back, Karen, I think, maybe.
There was that shared culture, taking that moment to just understand another person or another group of people and showing respect for them in something as simple or as universal as dance.
So essentially learning about another culture through doing something shared, right, and respecting that through that shared activity. Nice. All right, what else we got? Anything else? All right, over here, yes. We all dance, don't we? I know, when North Korea pops up, you're like, no kidding. And then it actually happens. It's not all black and white there, right? That kind of thing, right? And then the second time it shows up, it's at a wedding. There's a wedding going on. In North Korea, they get married. Who knew, right? How cool is that? And the problem with a lot of our teaching is that what we convey to our colleagues and to our kids happens just this way, via our one mode of expression. And in fact, there are so many stories out there that we can share and get insights from each other as a part of it. That's something special. I love that the dancing isn't perfect, right? At one point, everybody's doing one thing, just one guy's doing it the other, Awesome. I love also that even though this is a Creative Commons licensed piece, I wrote the guy. I wrote Matt. I said, dear Mr. Harding, I love this video. I would love to use it in programs I do with teachers. Would you be good with that? He writes back. He wrote back and he said, like the entire message, I will quote it for you. Sure, go ahead. That's it, right there. That's the entire message. Right? I'm like, that's awesome. How much fun can it be to stop and, like you were saying, just breathe. Just breathe. Because there's so much that we share. There is so much that we share in terms of our passions for what's possible in the classroom, what's possible at a school. It's time. It's time that we do that kind of thing. I have a few points of review that I hope weren't too subtle as I went through my little session. It's okay to tell stories. It's okay to tell stories that reconnect teachers with who they are at their very best. It's okay when things don't work, if you don't freak out. Taking on something new is okay, especially when it saves you time. Using what others have done is okay when you cite your sources. It's okay to talk about successes and failures when you welcome feedback. It's okay to share stories, videos, and talk about what's possible. And it's okay to dance when you know that what you do matters every day. I hope you'll stay in touch with me. Like tons of info up there, right? The last one is actually this set of slides. And if this is helpful to you, by all means. If there's anything I showed where you're like, oh, I don't know how to get back to that, then just contact me. I'll be happy to work with you. My email, my Twitter, like my little nonprofit to save the world. On Instagram, I was a little late, so I'm at Rushton was taken, all right, in Instagram. If you're into like service clubs, but you're like, I can't be in a service club because I'm always busy at lunch and breakfast. Well, I'm an online Rotary Club. You can do your meeting at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning in pajamas if you want to, all good. Right? Tons of free resources. There's a newsletter, right? That thing I mentioned earlier about the KCI and the merit program. If you're like, ooh, I want to find out about that, take a look. It's really cool. And then there's the slides. So in doing all this stuff, I hope that there's something there that allows you to stop and go, you know, this is something I can share with my people. Maybe they need it. Maybe they need that moment to breathe, right? I hope that you will take this stuff and that you will find ways to make it something special in how you celebrate the cool stuff at your school. That you will use it to celebrate what's possible with your kids. I hope you will dance. With the newsletter, I finish it the same way every month, and I'll finish my session with it now. May you inspire and be inspired daily. Thank you very much for coming to this session.